Welcome back to Light the Fuse, the essential podcast for Mission Impossible fandom the world over.
What is this?
That's kind of like a new intense version. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I like it.
What do you think about us doing a DC fandom type event?
Oh, a fandom? Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
You and me in a weird CGI cave talking to people. I think it would be great.
I would love to do that. Socially distanced, of course. You know,
we'd distanced, like, of course.
At least 12 feet apart.
Yeah. And one of us is going to be dressed like Matt Reeves as he was introducing the Batman. So looking like a cast member of Jesse James and the Coward Robert Ford. Very old-timey Western. We'll get you'll just have a little mustache, but I'll still maintain the by this point it'll be huge.
Your beard is humongous right now, so
yeah, it's huge.
You'd fit right in with that kind of look.
So I think we got to get that on the books.
Okay, soon. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Mission Impossible fandom. What do you think, everybody?
Yeah, let us know. So what do we got going on this week, Charles? Anything we got to talk about before we introduce Dan Mindel Part 2?
Well, I was excited about this. One of our Patreon followers who's in Spain said that my movie, Nasty Piece of Work, which was part of the Into the Dark Blumhouse series, it's on Hulu here in the States, he said it's on HBO in Spain.
Yeah.
I was really happy to hear that. It was cool that, if you're in Spain, you can watch Nasty Piece of Work on HBO.
Have a late dinner, 8, 9 o'clock. Throw on Nasty Piece of Work, right? That's how they do it in España.
Yeah,
right.
I think so. I mean, don't they eat after midnight sometimes too? I don't know. Maybe some of our followers in Spain can let us know.
We are so excited because we were talking to Dan Mindel again today, the second part of our interview, which was recorded months ago, in the middle of at the beginning of the quarantine, really. I think.
Yeah.
We were on fire at the beginning of this quarantine because everybody was so bored. Now they're going back to work, so it's harder to get people. But
I know, yeah. This we got to gear up and get a whole bunch of new interviews. This is kind of the end of our batch of interviews that we got from the beginning of lockdown when the pandemic started. That was back when everybody was home and bored and ready to talk to us.
Yes. Now they want nothing to do with us, which is fine. We're used to that. But this is really, really exciting, and we can't wait for you guys to hear the second part. We're obviously talking more about Mission Impossible 3, but also we've got Star Trek. We've got... What else, Charles, today?
Well, we talk about Jackie Chan quite a bit, so of course I am extremely excited about that. Dan Mindel has wonderful things to say about Jackie, which is just awesome. We also talk about your favorite, John Carter.
John Carter, yeah.
And we get into some great candid stories about working on Bourne Identity and Zoolander 2.
Spoiler alert, Zoolander 2, not a great experience. If the movie that you saw doesn't make that abundantly clear, nobody was having a great time on that one. But we get into it, and it's really fun, and he's amazing. So we can't
actually. I don't know. Maybe this is controversial, but I enjoyed Zoolander 2 in the theater. I only saw it once, but I had fun with it.
Yeah. Do you remember anything about it?
Not really. I remember Fred Armisen playing a digitally miniaturized person. And I remember there's a funny subplot with Owen Wilson where it's like a romantic subplot about him and his orgy and them breaking up. And that was, I remember that being really funny.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think there's also some funny actor who leads the orgy. I think it might be Kiefer Sutherland or something like that.
Kyle Mooney was very funny in it. I remember that.
Oh yeah, Kyle Mooney was really funny. That's right. I remember that. Yeah. There was some fun stuff. It's obviously not nearly as good as the first one, but it was enjoyable.
All right, there you go. Watch Zoolander 2. Charles's ringing endorsement. But I'm going to actually give some actual ringing endorsements right now, Charles, if I may.
Oh, good.
This episode is brought to you by Jeremy Dillon. And he has this podcast called My Favorite Album, and it's really great. Every week, Jeremy interviews a different musician, songwriter, actor, or filmmaker about the music they love and how it's influenced them and their work. And he's talked to people like Rogue Nation co-writer Drew Pearce, Rose McGowan, Casey Musgraves, who still has not given us her rankings, and Charles and myself. And we just did a new episode of that podcast, which will be coming out soon. It is longer than pretty much anything you've ever heard in podcast form. So get ready for that. And we'll have it on the main feed too. So I'm telling you to listen to his podcast, but I'm also telling you that we will have his podcast on our show as well whenever we're on. So this episode is also brought to you by John B. And it is also brought to you by Real Estate Interest LLC, commercial real estate for growing companies. And what I want to remind people about this is that companies can consult with Real Estate Interest LLC even if they're not looking to buy or sell. They want to help companies save and strategize too. So give them a call if you need anything from Real Estate Interest LLC. So just want to make that clear, Charles. I don't want any confusion on that.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
I'm glad you cleared it up. Thank you.
So yeah, we'll be back at the end of this episode, and here is Kevin's legally
iffy,
punishable. What do you think? Do you think this would hold up in a court of law?
I think we've gotten away with it this long. I feel like we just keep getting away with it. That's my hope.
I will say we don't use sound or actual stuff from the movies, and I'm pretty proud of us for that. We haven't done that yet. I think we've done it a couple times.
We did it in our marketing episode with Kendra James, and we did it with Jeremy Dillon for the music episode. We did the epic 4-part music. So we've done it a couple times.
All right, but nothing that's going to get us into too hot water, I hope.
No, I think we're legally in the clear there, but not. I can't say the same for Blumenfeld.
Yeah, we'll see. So we'll be back afterwards, and we'll see if Kevin has gone to jail yet.
I have to ask about one of my favorite movies that you did is a gorgeous, also anamorphic, is Shanghai Noon. And Jackie Chan.
Well, here we go.
Jackie Chan's one of my heroes. I bring him up on the show all the time because there are parallels with Tom Cruise doing all his own stunts these days with Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan, I think, is just amazing. I got to ask, what was it like working with Jackie on Shanghai Noon?
Shanghai Noon started off as nothing. It was just an afterthought that, what was the name of the company that made that movie?
It was Disney, I think, right?
Yeah, Disney took it over, but it started as Roger Birnbaum. Oh,
yes.
Anyway.
Roger Birnbaum, yeah.
Spyglass, right,
yeah.
Exactly. It was a small Spyglass movie, and Tom Day was a commercial director at RSA, at Tony Scott's company. And I had worked for ages with RSA, with all the directors, and I think I worked with Tom as a commercial cameraman, I can't remember. And they asked me to do Shanghai Noon, and over the years I had worked with Tony, we had done many, many, many Marlboro commercials, which were mini movies out in the desert where we would shoot guys riding horses and lassoing and doing all that kind of stuff. And the budgets on those commercials were massive. And what Tony and I used to do was try stuff out. We'd go out on these commercials and we'd try stuff out for the next movie. And that was Tony's thing. He used commercials to teach himself what he wanted to do in his next movie, look-wise, and all that kind of stuff. So the jump from the Marlboro commercial to a Western was not a big deal. It seemed natural, but a comedy was something that, seeing I'm not a particularly funny person, I didn't actually understand what I was doing in a comedy. So I went up to Canada and met with Jackie Chan, and I have to tell you, he changed my life for sure.
Really?
One of the greatest people I've ever met, yeah. At so many levels, really, at so many levels. I'm sure you've heard it all before, and it's all true. Everything you've heard about him is true. He is one of the most brilliant filmmakers out there. He's one of the most brilliant philanthropists out there. And while it's impossible not to have an ego in this industry, he's one of the only actors, directors that I've ever met that I've seen do other jobs on the set apart from his own. And I've seen him pick up horse shit, and I've seen him help the ADs and whatever. So there's nothing, I can't say enough about him, how great he is.
Wow.
So we set off to make this movie, and I said to them, look, I want to shoot anamorphic. That's what I do. That's all I want to do. And they went, yeah, all right, fine. How'd you shoot a comedy with anamorphics? Because in a lot of people's minds, comedies are wide-angle spherical lenses that you put in people's faces, and that's funny, that's comedy. But to me, Western and anamorphic they go in the same sentence. I mean, you just look at all those movies shot out.
Yeah, well, Blazing Saddles is anamorphic too.
Yeah. And so is, what's that Jack Lemmon movie? Is it The Apartment?
Yeah, The Apartment. Yeah.
I think that's 240.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we set out to make this movie, and it is, to me, it's luscious in its saturation and its color, and it's funny because of the comedy. It works, and it has integrity. It's not just it ended up with integrity, not just a sort of middle of the road comedy movie, and that's because Jackie, as a film director himself and as a stuntman himself, brought so much to it. He taught us how to shoot that kind of action. And we were in Calgary in Canada with a lot of Jackie's entourage not being able to speak English at the time. Jackie's English was a bit iffy as well. And we all became really great friends, and on the weekends would go out and we would take them to the local restaurants and teach them about European and American wines and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of the Chinese actors and stuntmen that came with us told us that when we went to China to shoot, that they would look after us and reciprocate. And that's what they did. When we went to Beijing, they really took care of us. And at the time, China wasn't really making many movies or Western movies. And we got to see a snapshot of China at the time, which we would never have got to be able to have seen had we not been with these people. Let alone the unofficial king of China, Jackie. And when we wrapped in Beijing, Jackie Chan flew me, the focus puller, the camera operator, and one of the producers down to Hong Kong to give us a personal tour of his favorite restaurants and places in Hong Kong on his dime.
Wow.
And that was one of the most fantastic sort of moments in my filmmaking career, was to get a personal guided tour by Jackie Chan.
Wow.
I think that's Charles's dream in life. So
we've heard before that there were members of Jackie Chan's stunt team that were in MI3 in the Shanghai sequence. Is that true?
Yeah, there were. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I think that they, at the time, they were really the only sort of global stunt team out there. I mean, there were American stunt teams, but they hadn't sort of gone global at that point, the way that the Chinese or the Hong Kong school had. I think they taught us everything. After Crouching Tiger, all the wire work on that movie put them on the global stage as the wire masters.
Right. And Jackie is so specific about how to shoot and edit action, and like for clarity and fights. Was there anything from that you learned and like applied to MI3 or anything going forward in your career?
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. He coming from the Tony Scott school, I wanted to go tight all the time. I wanted to shoot long lenses and go tight. And Jackie was saying, no, you can't shoot this way. You have to shoot wide. The problem with American coverage of kung fu or karate or martial arts fights is they're all too tight and you can't see what's going on. I want to see what's going on. And so that meant coming back and being on a wide enough lens so that you could see all the choreography of the fights, because for them it's a ballet. It's not just smashing someone's head in. And so yes, I learned about that choreography. And also we would shoot 22 frames per second for when Jackie was fighting, to speed up his action a bit, and all sorts of things. I remember we had a wide angle lens on the ground, and a stuntman was going to fall into the camera, into the foreground, and he wanted a mat on the ground in front of the camera. And so we put the mat there, and the visual effects guys were saying, yeah, we'll paint it out and everything like that. And Jackie comes along and takes the mat away and says, what are you doing? Just fall on the concrete. And he said, look, I spent 20 years falling on the concrete. You're young, you can do it, do it. And that's what we did. And he was a hard taskmaster, but totally, as far as I'm concerned, rational.
Amazing.
Well, I think you're the only person we've talked to that's worked with Jackie Chan and Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise is often, like Charles said, compared to Jackie Chan, not only with the level of stunt work that he does, but this kind of like commitment to the craft. And, what was your experience with Tom Cruise, and maybe, compare him to your experience with Jackie Chan?
Well, there's two things. The first thing is, one, when you have your leading man do his own stunts, you can put the camera in his face and there's no cheating. That's the guy doing the stunt. That's a very big part of the asset of doing that. Someone like Tom doing a major stunt right in front of camera. The second thing is that because it's them doing the stunt, the level of fastidiousness that's involved, whether it's the guys doing the choreography or it's the photography, you basically have one chance to get the leading actor doing this stunt, and therefore there's no margin of error. The photography has to be good and everything else. So that makes everybody elevate their game. The second thing is that because these guys do their own stunts and have done it multiple times on multiple movies for multiple years, they have studied the craft beyond, most reasonable people in the industry. So if you're going to have a conversation with Jackie Chan about movies or stunts or editing or anything, you better have done your homework. And the same thing goes for Tom Cruise. And I love that. I think it's just absolutely genius when you have people that can tell you who edited Battleship Potemkin on the set, and you're making movies with these people. That's what it is. For me, it's just fantastic. I love that shit.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Drew, do you want to ask about John Carter?
Yes, I do. Charles, thank you for teeing that up for me. Gotta say, Dan, big John Carter fan. Really love that movie, and was wondering what that process was like for you, working with a guy that came from animation. I mean, we've obviously covered the Brad Bird Ghost Protocol so in depth on our podcast, but I would love to hear what it was like working with Andrew Stanton and Michael Chabon and all these crazy creatives on a movie that had probably just as much animation as a Pixar movie, but also you're shooting all this live action stuff.
If this was for your eyes only. It might be.
It's been long enough. You can say whatever you want.
It would be one story. Because it's not for your eyes only, it's another story. I was really excited to work with Andrew. At the time, Wall-E had just come out, and I think that's one of the greatest movies ever made. And I think that Pixar, to that point, had not put a foot wrong. And it seemed like a logical step for them. But I just think that the creative support that he needed to get from animation to live screen was bigger than they gave him.
Okay.
Because you can emulate a Sam Peckinpah movie and go out and shoot it not knowing much. But you can't really tell somebody how to make a movie, a Sam Peckinpah movie, if they have never made a movie before in terms of what the logistics and just the nuts and bolts of it are.
Right.
And that to me is where the sort of the physical production line lies. It lies between the studio supporting the director and the infrastructure of the movie and the actual day-to-day process of making the movie. And so when I first met Andrew and the whole team at Disney, I said to them that I was really interested in making this movie because at that point I decided to make visual effects my business, having just done 3 visual effects movies with JJ. I wanted to learn more. And it seemed to me the logical step was to go and do this movie with Pixar that was so effects heavy and take what I'd learned from the movies I'd made with JJ and ILM and use it for John Carter. And so when I met these guys, I said, the first thing we should do is we should shoot this movie outside in the 4 corners, somewhere in Arizona, Nevada, Utah, somewhere. And they all went, yeah, that's great. And cut to England in the middle of winter. And that's where they wanted to make this movie, on stage in England.
Right.
Which was their first mistake. And the second thing that happened was that coming from animation, the idea that you could pre-viz a movie from start to finish and shoot the pre-viz and come away with a movie was not really that smart.
Right.
And we tried to bring in the other cameras. We tried to bring in the idea that improvisation happens in front of the cameras on set, and that you should embrace that and use it in the edit and all that kind of stuff, not just what has been pre-vised, which ended up really what was happening. And the other thing that happened was they, as in many animation movies, when you finish the movie, it's not a big deal to go back and reshoot because it's animated. And that's what they wanted to do. They had months of reshoots after the movie was wrapped in LA, having shot it in London and in the Southwest. We went back to Disney and shot more. And basically, I think that in the end, the movie was sort of poleaxed before it started, which is such a pity because it was a great story, still is a great story, and it had, I think, amazing potential.
Was it a Pixar movie when you signed on to it? Because I remember at one point it kind of went from Pixar to Disney, but sort of began. Was it a Pixar movie when you first got on it?
I think that they had transitioned to Disney.
Okay.
But when I first started talking to them, I don't think that physical step had been made yet.
Okay. Yeah, it's a fascinating movie.
It is.
Yeah, we got to talk about the look of Star Trek. Might be the most sort of iconic thing you've done in terms of people ripping it off and riffing on it, and making YouTube videos about it and stuff like that. Where did those lens flares come from? And JJ loves them, obviously, but the way that you used them was very unique, and again, incorporating them into the ILM stuff was really unique. Where did that come from?
I think we went mad for a second. No. If you look through Mission Impossible, you'll see some lens flares. Mm-hmm. And we took note of those. And if you look through Ridley Scott's Alien, you'll remember when the astronauts walk out on the planet, they're carrying flashlights. And those flashlights have fascinated me since then. And we used those for our flares on Star Trek. The exact same flashlights.
Wow.
Oh, really?
That's amazing.
And they are the only tool out there that does what we wanted it to do. And so JJ saw the artifacts of the flares on Mission Impossible and loved them and wanted to incorporate that kind of thing into Star Trek. And so as a young person, when I was watching Lost in Space and Star Trek and all those space things, and what was that submarine thing where
20,000 Leagues?
No, there was a sort of a later one that was a bit more sci-fi. Anyway, all those shows I used to watch as a kid. The thing that I hated the most was when they bumped me onto the set visually, and I'd go, "Oh, that's the set," and it used to really annoy the shit out of me that you could tell the difference. And so I said to JJ in the beginning, so much of this movie, or all of this movie, is all sets, it's all space. How do you make it look and feel like it's real? And the solution was to antagonize the lens with light and make it flare and do stuff that happens when you're outside shooting naturally. And so we went down this road, and the idea that we built all the lights into the sets that were going to annoy the lenses, and we brought the flashlights so that we could sort of add to that by hand at taste whenever we wanted, was the next thing. And that's how we did it. Basically, the bridge of the Enterprise, the first time you saw it, we wanted it to just blow everyone away. When the door opens and you look in and you go, wow, look at that. And we kind of took the then contemporary Apple Store look and made the Enterprise look and feel that way. Just beautiful light and nice flares and all that kind of stuff. And I think it worked. I think it really did work. And that's been my thing all along, is not to be so protective of the lens that you don't get these artifacts happening. And I still think that now.
Is the whole ethos of bringing reality to it, is that where that shot of Spock in the elevator came from? Which is, I know, a shot that Charles also is obsessed with, but the shot where he walks into the elevator, you spin around him and then exit out onto the bridge.
Onto the deck.
Yeah. How did you do that? Is there a cut in there, or was that all you?
No, it's we built an elevator. I can't quite remember, and we had a green screen, mm-hmm. so that when we pan around You pan off the green screen onto the doors, and the doors open, and you're on the bridge, which was a real set.
Okay. So the first location. So when he gets on, it's fake, and then when he gets off, it's the bridge.
Yeah, I think we built an elevator.
Okay.
That went up one level, and so we film him going into the door. There's green screen in the background. We spin around. The doors open, and he walks out. And that's JJ. That is JJ's sort of mentality. Is he can visualize that, and so therefore he can design the shots because he's basically visualizing what the camera's going to do, and that is just such a great tool to have.
Amazing, Charles. You know that you're obsessed with that shot too, right?
Yeah, it's so good. We both love that. That first Star Trek movie is so great. We love it so much.
Oh, it is. It really is. And as you say, the number of people that have sort of run with that look is astounding.
Yeah. Was it hard to come back to that world and to go to Star Wars too? I mean, was it hard to kind of make those feel different?
It's kind of ended up that I don't do a movie unless there's star in the title. And that's a bit of a drag. But going to Star Wars I don't think you get asked to do those things very often in your life, to work on an iconoclastic kind of film title that is so resonant in everybody of my age and whatever. It was just nuts. And so I had no thoughts about it whatsoever about doing it. I just wanted to do it. But the thing that we inherited, unlike a lot of what we'd done before, was that the look and feel of it was already set. We weren't going to deviate from that. So the way that first Star Wars was shot was basically with total adherence to the rule book that the people before us used. It made it simple in one way, but it really was stifling in another way, because we there's no flares, there's nothing to make any of that work. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It was. We just inherited it, and we sort of shaped it more to a contemporary style. But in the beginning, JJ even said to me, see if you can find the lenses that the first movie was originally shot on.
Whoa, that's crazy.
So we looked around and we did tests and all that kind of stuff. But in the end, we built our own lenses because we wanted it to look that way, but we wanted the contemporary contrast and things that come with more modern lenses, and we engineered it from scratch.
Wow.
That's awesome. I wanted to quickly ask you about the Bourne Identity, because you're credited as an additional photographer, and I know that I've always heard that there were like big reshoots on that movie. And I was just curious.
Yeah.
So is that what you did on that movie?
That's another one of those for your eyes only.
I love that movie. I think it's so great.
It's brilliant. Yeah. Long story, but basically the producers on that movie were completely beside themselves when they saw the director's cut. And Doug Liman did not have his, how can I put it? He didn't have his film technique down. So the stunt sequences and all the things that were shot by second unit and action directors, all that stuff worked, but the movie itself was really sort of disjointed editorially, and so Universal, I think it was Universal, wanted to go back and shoot more so they could get a more coherent cut out of it. And basically, they asked me, I got a phone call, do you want to come and do it? And I said, no, I'm not interested in repairing someone else's movie. And through massive persuasion from Frank Marshall, who offered great restaurants in Paris and that kind of thing, I jumped on the plane and went to Paris to work on that movie. I can't remember how much time we spent on it, but we shot a big percentage, or reshot a big percentage of the movie with Doug and Frank and Pat.
Was any of it
Crowley?
He always. I've heard that Doug Liman would shoot stuff without permits, like kind of off the cuff. Was that were you doing any of that kind of stuff?
No. But I believe that when they were making the movie, they, Doug hadn't done a massive movie before, so he was still in his old mode of going out and grabbing shit and whatever. And I think that's what got them into trouble.
Okay.
It was such a huge political thing. But the long and short of it is that the movie was brilliant and it reset the action picture genre, and that's where Mission Impossible came from, basically. They had to up their game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody did. Bond had to,
Yeah, exactly. And so that's all that matters in the end.
Yeah.
So were you mainly doing like person-to-person character stuff more so than action?
I honestly can't remember. I think we spent a lot of time with Matt, doing dialogue and putting in these little pieces that went into the 70% of the movie that they used, something like that. Don't quote me.
All right, Charles, is it time for our big questions?
Yeah, probably. Is there? I mean, I could ask you a million questions. Actually, quickly, I want to ask you about Ben Stiller, because I think Ben Stiller is a genius. His directing, his comedy directing is amazing. And you shot Zoolander 2 with him. What was it like working with Stiller?
It's one of the hardest jobs I've ever done in my life.
Really?
Yeah. He is a funny man, but he was so difficult to work with.
Oh wow!
For some reason, he was intimidated by me, and I honestly don't know how anyone can be intimidated by me. But anyway, he would only speak to my gaffer and tell him that he wanted more front lighting because the way I was lighting him was not cosmetic enough. And I mean, actor director, you really have to have your shit together, and he's done that many times, and he knows how to do it. And I have a lot of respect for Ben. I loved that movie he shot in Iceland and the movie he shot here in Kauai, the war movie, whatever that was called.
Oh yeah, Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder, yes, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we shot the Zoolander in Rome, and it just felt like such a stretch. The script didn't really work as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
They're so off kilter that I don't think it ever really resolved as a comedy movie. I'm not quite sure. I haven't seen it in years. But it was fun to work at Cinecittà and with all the Italians and do a movie in Rome. It was great. And, in retrospect, all these moments in time, regardless of how fraught or political or whatever, they are just fabulous moments and should be savoured. And I savour that time. I see Ben occasionally here in Kauai and we have a laugh. I have a lot of respect.
It just wasn't the best. It wasn't the best working relationship then.
No, and
It's not his best movie either.
Yeah.
no, it kind of makes me sad because I have a lot of fun doing what I do, and I really love it, and I love the whole process. So when there's a bad moment, it's always a moment of self-reflection, what happened, and all that kind of stuff. But again, it's only a movie. It's not the coronavirus, and in the scheme of things, who cares?
Right. I think I have some very dumb questions to ask you that we ask every guest, but I'm sort of reticent to ask you because I feel like it's wasting your time. But we do ask everyone what their favorite Tom Cruise hairstyles are in this series of films. I'm assuming you've seen all the Mission Impossible movies, right?
Yeah, okay. I'm not that much of an aficionado that I would be able to tell you the difference in the hairstyles.
All right, that's fair enough.
We can skip that one.
Perhaps I should be able to, but I just can't give you. I can't grab a visual. So
well, listen, Dan, we got a lot of time on our hands. If you want to go revisit, you can send us an email about the hairstyles.
Okay. Okay.
We also wanted to, maybe what are your top 3 Mission Impossible movies in the series? What are your favorites?
I thought 6 was really a good action movie, although it made no sense. The visuals were fantastic. The exposition was hard to sort of engage in when you're waiting for the next thing to happen.
Right.
I loved 3. I thought that was a good one. And 2, not. It's. I think that the problem with those kind of movies is they date really quickly.
Right.
And so the early ones, even 3, seem dated. My third favorite, I don't know. I can't tell you which one I love, but I think that the job that they did photographically and stunt-wise on 6 was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really unbelievable. Well, Dan, thank you so much for being on the show. This has meant the world to us. We've been wanting to talk to you since we started the podcast, so this is a huge thrill for us. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you too, and it's great that there are people that are so interested in what we do to want to go and uncover the dirt and the other side of it. I'm sad that I can't give you more dirt, but
we're about to turn the recording off right now, so we'll you can uncover more dirt when we stop recording.
I really don't trust you, and let's build our relationship on that.
Okay, let's build it. Once we're at that level of trust, yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, so listen. Yeah, I'm here, and great to talk to you.
And we're back. Dan Mindel, gone too soon. He's not dead, but he's not on the podcast anymore.
Yes. Thank God. It's just that he's not on the podcast anymore. That was awesome. I loved talking to him and loved hearing about Jackie Chan. Of course, I mean, my heart swooned hearing his stories about Jackie Chan. And then I'm sure you loved hearing about John Carter. I know you're a big fan.
I'm always trying to uncover the John Carter artifacts. So yeah, that was interesting.
And we're both big fans of the Bourne Identity, so it was really cool to hear him talk about the production of that movie and what it was like working with Doug Liman on his first big studio movie and the crazy process of shooting that film. It was nice to get a peek behind the curtain at that experience. Yeah, it's just as chaotic as we have always been led to believe. So it's there's something reassuring in that. Yeah. But so didn't he say that like Ben Stiller wasn't talking to him or something on the set of Zoolander 2? Yeah, that was really interesting to hear about that. And, also just that Mindel said that he still respects him a lot. I mean, it was really fascinating. And I'm a big fan of Ben Stiller as a director. I really loved the miniseries he just directed for Showtime, Escape at Dannemora. Did you ever see that?
No, but it's on Amazon, I think, so I need to watch it.
You should watch it. It's fantastic. Benicio del Toro and Paul Dano are both amazing, and then Patricia Arquette is mind-blowing. It's so great.
Yeah, he's working with Patricia Arquette again on a new show or something, a new miniseries. So. Oh,
okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I thought they did such a great job on Escape to Dannemora. I thought Stiller just directed the hell out of it, and it's just. I know he's been wanting to do something more serious for a long time, and I feel like as a director, he's probably felt pigeonholed in comedy, and it was cool to see him do this because it's great.
How are you feeling about being pigeonholed, Charles?
Am I pigeonholed?
I don't know. Do you feel that way? Are there genres you would like to explore?
I've been lucky. I've been able to direct stuff, on anywhere on the spectrum between comedy and thriller, and even dipping kind of into horror a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been fortunate. I mean, I've been able to do. I started directing more in comedy, and then I've been able to move more into thriller and get those opportunities. So yeah, no complaints for me.
Can we talk about how big of a hit your Hulu movie was?
Well, yeah, I've heard kind of murmurs from people in the know about it. It sounds like, of Into the Dark, it's one of the highest performers, which is really great to hear.
Pretty great.
So yeah, I mean, if you have, check it out. It's called A Nasty Piece of Work. It's part of Into the Dark.
Yeah,
it's on Hulu here in America, and it's on HBO in Spain, and I'm not sure where else it is in other parts of the world. But if you can, check it out.
I would argue it's great Halloween viewing and a great Christmas viewing. So if you're starting to program your watching for those two holidays, get on it.
Yeah.
What else, Charles? What else do we need to talk about?
Well, of course, there's our Patreon. You should sign up if you want to hear us talk about. I'm sure that by now, if all is going well, the Mission Impossible 7 production is underway. And if that's the case, then you can bet that we are releasing, as part of our weekly Patreon episodes, we're talking about that and what's happening there. And so, you should sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/LightTheFuse. Sign up at the bonus content level and you'll hear all that stuff. And there are other higher tiers as well you can join if you want to be a part of our monthly Skype chat and stuff like that. Also, of course, there's our TeePublic page you can find if you want to get one of our shirts or masks. The masks, for every mask that's sold at TeePublic, they donate a medical grade mask to a place that needs it. And, you can get that from our TeePublic page, which is linked from our website, LightTheFusePodcast.com. And we're also in the process of updating our website. So, a lot of times in our episodes, we mention that we're going to post stuff on social media, and if you are catching up to our show now and you're listening to earlier episodes, you'll be able to go to our website and there will be an episode guide. And for each episode, there'll be show notes and we'll include the photos and things that we discussed that week. So that is being updated as we speak, and it'll be hopefully all up to date sometime in the next couple of weeks. And that's going to be a really great archive of everything we've talked about. So if you're catching up to the show now, you can go back, and anytime we reference something, you don't have to go scouring our social media, old posts to find it. You can just go to the website and go to the episode you've listened to, and it'll have all the stuff there. So it's really exciting. I think it's a really great update we're doing, and it's big thank you to our intern Abby Smith, who is helping us make this all happen. So Abby has been awesome and has helped us so much with so much more than just that. But it's been really great to work with her. She's been a big help for us.
Great. So we will be back next week. Do we have anybody else to shout out at the end of this episode?
Oh yes, thank you. Yeah, we need to give a big shout out, a thank you to Jacob from Holland. Jacob's been with us for a very long time, and we could not be doing this show without him. And also, this episode is mixed and edited by Luke Burson. So big thank you to Luke as well. We couldn't do the show without him.
Thanks, guys. We'll be back next week.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. And before we go, another mission, should you choose to accept it, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LightTheFusePod, and email us questions or comments at LightTheFusePodcasts@gmail.com. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.